This is currently the biggest scandal in gaming. Eurogamer published a review of Ark Raiders, which has recently been making waves, and it turned out that in their opinion, they didn't really focus on how the game was designed, how the mechanics work, or how the extraction shooter genre was executed. Instead, they focused more on the fact that the game allows you to change your voice using artificial intelligence. And so, there was a bit of an uproar online, and people started going after the journalist, and besides that, Bethesda once again showed just how little they care about their most loyal fans. Dispatch might get a second season, and Daniel Vavra, the creator of Kingdom Come Deliverance, is taking some shots at Obsidian and their latest game, The Outer Worlds 2. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any news, and to stay up to date with the gaming industry, leave a like. We've got a lot to talk about today, so I won't drag out the introduction. I won't repeat again that I'm a huge fan of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 as well as the first Kingdom Come Deliverance. I'm not going to hide my love here, but for about a year now, Warhorse Studio has been adding more DLCs to the game. There were supposed to be 3 of them, and just yesterday, the last one was released. At first, we got the Brushes with Death expansion, which received, well, mixed reviews. Then we got Legacy of the Forge, an expansion that allowed us to build our own forge and also added some additional quest content. Unfortunately, the reviews were mixed, and the last expansion came out yesterday, and so far it's been getting very positive reviews. It's called Mysteria Excellentia, in which Henry has to solve a mystery in a monastery. Even though I love both the first and second games, since 2018, I haven't been a fan of how Warhorse Studio makes these DLCs. I wasn't a fan of these DLCs because they're mediocre, sometimes even weak. Well, in the case of the second game, looking at the reviews on Steam, they really haven't changed their approach to making these DLCs, and we're still getting these mediocre ones that aren't particularly long or very elaborate. They're the kind of things that could easily have been included in the base version of the game. But they charge quite a bit for them, because if you look at each DLC, you can see that they cost a fair amount, so when you add it all up, it's not cheap. And honestly, I can't blame people for expecting a bit higher quality, but at least it looks like this new one is actually pretty good. In the Mysteries of the Monastery expansion, we head to the Sedlec Monastery to investigate a mysterious epidemic, so naturally, detective storylines will take center stage here. As part of the launch, there was also an event where one of the journalists asked Tobias Zwilig about the future of the studio. He said that at Warhorse Studio, they feel most comfortable creating RPGs and want to establish themselves as the new kings of RPGs. We believe we've developed our own formula, and our next project will follow the same direction. It will definitely be an immersive RPG. But that's not all. From Kingdom, we're now moving on to the real meat. Namely, this is Daniel Vavra. He is the head of Warhorse Studio and recently boasted on Twitter that he finished the new Obsidian game, The Outer Worlds 2. He rated the game 7 out of 10, but his further comment is definitely more of a criticism. But what's sad is the fact that the company or the people who gave us my favorite games like Fallout New Vegas weren't able, even after 15 years, with Microsoft's support, their money, and the latest technologies, to create even a single new mechanic that could refresh this ancient formula. Can you name even a single mechanic from the Outer Worlds that wasn't already in Deus Ex or the original Fallouts 25 years ago? Unfortunately, I can't. Give me a living simulated world. True non-linearity. Give me something more than loot boxes. Give me something more than loading screens and grinding levels in a scripted world. Well, Mr. Vavra wrote such a litany here that I doubt whether that 7 out of 10 rating is really an honest opinion, especially coming from a guy who created Kingdom Come, which has such a brilliantly simulated open world. Well, that's it from Kingdom Come. Let's move on. The game Dispatch is a success that the creators definitely didn't expect. At launch, the game had very few players, just 12,000, but when the next episodes came out, that number grew to 65,000. Word of mouth was still working. And at the last release, this past Wednesday, there were 131,000 players. At the same time, I don't even want to think about how many there will be today for the game's finale. But the creators also boasted in the meantime that they had sold 1 million copies. And now the question is whether there will be a second season of Dispatch in the future. It turns out that it's very possible. In an interview, the creator said, "We're working on an unannounced project with our partners from Critical Role, but I think now we at least have to consider a second season." Just 3 weeks ago, this was still up in the air, so it's a very pleasant problem to have. Bethesda, what more could we have expected from you than what you did with Fallout 4? For those who don't know, Fallout 4 celebrated its birthday yesterday. Its 10th birthday. Quite a big anniversary, isn't it? 10 years of the game. And so, to celebrate this major milestone, Bethesda decided to give the game away for free to everyone and fix all its problems. Of course, I'm joking. They released the anniversary edition for the 10th anniversary and it turned out to be a complete mess. There's quite a lot to cover here, so let's organize it all chronologically. First, Fallout 4 was released. It was already full of optimization problems, well, as is usually the case with Bethesda. Then came the Fallout 4 Game of the Year edition, which includes all the DLCs in the package. The price dropped and all the DLCs, the full game, nice. And now, for the 10th anniversary, Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition has come out, which costs $60. But you might ask, why is it more expensive here if it doesn't really offer anything extra? We have the Pearl Harbor add-on, here we have the Pearl Harbor add-on, we have Automatron, here we also have Automatron, we have Nuka World, here we also have Nuka World. Well, here's the thing. A DLC called the Creations Bundle has been released, which, as Bethesda describes it, this edition includes over 150 items from the Creation Club, including unique weapons, power armor sets, building packs, paint jobs, special homes, and even various dog breeds to enrich your journey through the Commonwealth. In other words, they gave players a few trinkets from the Creation Club. Another interesting point here is that if you already own the full version of the game or the GOTY edition, you don't have to pay the full price for the Anniversary edition. You can upgrade for a smaller fee. If you already have DLCs like Automatron, Far Harbor, or Nuka World, then, well, you have to buy them again in order to use the Anniversary upgrade. And that means you're basically wasting your money at this point because you're paying for something you already own. But that's still not all, because of course, when we're talking about Bethesda, we're also talking about bugs. It crashes at any moment. Even the Creation Club, which is supposed to let you sell items, doesn't load for people. Instead of fixing the problems that have plagued this game for over 10 years, Bethesda is adding new ones. Now there are even more bugs than there were before. Fan-made mods, the free ones, have been shut down because it's better to make people buy them in the Creation Club, right? Rather than have them for free. Some people report that the Anniversary Edition broke their save files, others say that because of this update they can't play Fallout 4 at all. For most, the menu is glitching out. Some even say they can't close the game. And that's probably the worst thing of all. Bethesda has once again shown that they don't give a damn about the players, right? They don't care about their fans, do they? A 10-year anniversary? People thought there would be something special here? Maybe they'd fix some bugs, maybe they'd add some event to the game, but nothing. And they got yet another attempt to squeeze money out of people for a product that doesn't even work. For a product that can corrupt your save file. That's it for this news. Let's move on. Yesterday, there was a State of Play Japan showcase, which was supposed to present Japanese games. There was nothing special there, except for one gem, of course. A very interesting gem. But let's start from the beginning. Among other things, they showed Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. They showed Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly Remake, Gran Turismo 7 Power Pack Add-on. They showed Marvel Token, Fighting Souls, and Octopath Traveler 0. I won't go into detail about these because I have no idea about them and it would be a waste of time. But at the end, they presented the Elden Ring Nightreign DLC. It will be called The Forsaken Hollows, and we know it will debut on December 4th for both PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. From the trailer, you can see there's going to be quite a lot of content. There will be 2 new character classes. Scholar, an academic who moves through the lands between. They have a high arcane level and provide an incredible advantage by surveying the battlefield. The second character will be the Undertaker, and this class will focus on strength and faith. They also showcase 2 new final bosses. One of them is these strange angels. There are a few of them, and the other one, who the hell knows what that is? Some kind of lizard. On top of that, From Software is still taking bosses from previous games and putting them into Nightreign. So, in the trailer, we can also see the Dancing Lion from the Shadow of the Erdtree expansion, and interestingly, a banger in the form of Artorias. Definitely the best boss from Dark Souls 1. Archratus is awesome. Whether it's because of the gameplay loop or the phenomenally designed drones, whether it's because of the fantastic community which might kill you one time, but another time you'll make friends with some guy and play together until the very end. Whether it's because of the kind of dynamics it offers, or because, unlike Tarkov, it has good and unbroken matchmaking. In my opinion, it's number 2 right after Kingdom to win Game of the Year. This game is just fantastic. The reviews on Metacritic are also quite high, although for the PC version they were even higher. But why are they lower here? We'll talk about that. We recently got the news that Arc Raiders has sold 4 million copies, and the developers have already laid out a roadmap for how the game will be developed until the end of the year. But I didn't gather you here today to talk about how awesome Arc Raiders is, even though I tried to sneak that in a bit. We gathered here to check out the latest review that caused a scandal in the gaming world. Yes, this review stirred up quite a controversy. It comes from Eurogamer, the international Eurogamer, which gave the game 2 stars. And okay, there wouldn't be any problem with that. The guy just doesn't like the game. I completely disagree with him, but whatever, right? Let him have it. Let him give those 2 stars if he wants. But the problem here is that he drastically lowered the game's score because it features a voice changer that uses artificial intelligence. Yes, in Arc Raiders, there's an option in the settings where you can, for example, change your voice to a female one, and that some of the NPC voices were actually generated using artificial intelligence. The rich PvE and unusually friendly community make Arc Raiders more accessible than others, but Embark Studios uses voices created by artificial intelligence. The guy spends almost the entire article praising the game, saying that Arc Raiders skillfully engages the player in the loot cycle, that the Wasps and Hornets, which form the core of Arc, are brilliantly designed both individually and as a group, that he met up with a couple of guys and really enjoyed that adventure. He really liked it, and strictly speaking, in this gameplay review, there's nothing you could really criticize, but unfortunately, here's where it starts to show up. Just like in the finals, Arc Raiders is characterized by thoughtful design. Similarly to the finals, this design is overshadowed by the specter of artificial int. Arc Raiders uses a machine learning algorithm for animating the arcs, as well as characters generated from real actors' voices using text-to-speech technology. He goes on to write that although I am deeply skeptical about the use of artificial intelligence in game development, it's important to highlight the nuances that are present. First of all, these 2 techniques are not the same, and Embark has argued, less convincingly, that TTS is different from AI-generated tools such as GPT. It's worth mentioning here that Embark, of course, has obtained consent from the actors whose voices were used for cloning by artificial intelligence. Does the use of AI voices in Embark suffice to compromise the game, given that they make up only a small part of the gameplay? I thought about this for a while, and the longer I considered it, the more angry I became. Oh yes, the use of AI voices compromises Arc Raiders not only ethically, but also and artistically. Pretty strong words, I admit. The contradiction between the theme of Arc Raiders and the way it was created is so glaring that it makes me want to scream. You made a game about the tragedy of people being replaced by robots, and at the same time you are replacing people with robots. I probably don't need to say that this review didn't get a very good reaction online. People all over Twitter are making fun of him. The biggest streamers are saying, what is he talking about? He's talking nonsense. How can you write off such a great game because of some marginal element? That a few voices, which are practically irrelevant, were generated by AI, artificial intelligence. And besides, Embark actually had the actors consent to clone their voices. That people can optionally use a voice changer. I don't know, maybe there's a kid who's embarrassed about their voice but wants to talk to others. To be fair, I have to mention that, of course, there are people on Twitter who support Eurogamer and say that they also rate the game 0 out of 10 because AI can't be used and it should be scrapped, but definitely these people are in the minority. As a result of Eurogamer's review, the Metacritic score for Arc Raiders dropped from 94 to 88. I understand being outraged about the use of artificial intelligence in a stupid way. For example, I don't know about the situation with Activision, which for instance used AI to make their graphics for the zombie mode. It's worth noting that the zombie here has 6 fingers. Or take Marvel when they made the Secret Invasion series and the entire intro was generated by AI because it just looks bad. But if I were reviewing that Call of Duty, I wouldn't give it a 2 out of 10 just because there was a graphic in the game of a zombie with 6 fingers. In the same way, I wouldn't give Secret Invasion a 2 out of 10 just because it had an intro created by artificial intelligence. Putting aside the fact that the show was just shitty, it really was a 2 out of 10. But you know what I mean. What do you think about this? Do you believe that Embark Studios' use of AI is so blatant, so critical, that we should write off the game, that we should give it a much lower score like the guy here did who gave it a 4? Or maybe in a review we should give our opinion about the game itself and not about our personal views on some topic. This is actually a similar situation to what happened on Eurogamer during the release of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, where the reviewer gave a lower score because, according to him, Daniel Wara has some kind of views that he doesn't like. That's all for today.